Exposed. Why I got fired after 17 long years. The shocking truth will leave you speechless. The office was buzzing, a cacophony of whispers and hurried footsteps, but at the center of it all stood Tom, heart racing, palms sweaty. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The dim lighting flickered above, eerie shadows creeping in from the corners of the room. Was it just the stress or something more? Everyone was acting strange. Why were their eyes wide with concern? A shiver ran down Tom's spine. Just last week, he had celebrated his 17th anniversary with the company. Yet today, it felt like a countdown to a disaster. As he pushed through the sea of colleagues, a chilling silence enveloped him. Then came the first strange element. A discarded coffee mug on the floor, shattered like his confidence. Who had thrown it? The only witness was Sally, her face pale, mouth agape. She met Tom's eyes with a look that screamed, "Run!" Goosebumps erupted on his arms. What the hell was happening? Gradually, twist after twist ripped through the room. Jerry, the manager, was nowhere to be seen. Usually, he was loud and unmissable, commanding attention like a lion in a pride. Today, just whispers about his unexpected leave. The hum in the room turned colder, every second vibrating with tension. A knot twisted tighter in Tom's stomach. Something didn't add up. He fumbled with his phone, trying to distract himself, but even the usual comforting glow felt off. A notification popped up, a reminder of the annual reviews, more menacing than ever. And the second strange thing, a message from an unknown number. "Watch your back, Tom." His knees felt weak, the walls closed in. What could it mean? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Tom's heart thundered in his chest as he stepped toward Jerry's office. Now a forbidden zone, the frosted glass door a winter chill against his skin. Peeking inside, he saw Jerry's desk, papers scattered like fallen leaves, an unfinished coffee cup, steam rising, but Jerry sat nowhere. Tom's mind raced. What was he missing? The sinking feeling in his gut pulled him deeper into the abyss, that something awful lurked just around the corner. The echo of feet marching down the hall grew louder. A collective breath held. Then, the door burst open. But who stood there? The door swung wide, revealing Linda, his once friendly co-worker, now transformed into a harbinger of dread. Her eyes darted, wild and frantic, like a deer caught in headlights. She took a step back, nearly stumbling as she braced herself against the frame. "Tom, you need to leave. Now," she blurted out, her voice trembling. "Leave? What do you mean? What is going on?" His confusion deepened as he scanned her face, searching for answers that never came. The office buzzed louder around them, a swarm of anxious voices spiraling into a frenzy. Yet in that moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. "There's been an incident," she whispered. "Something terrible, and it involves you." The words sent a chill racing up Tom's spine. What kind of incident? Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from down the hallway. A chair toppled over, followed by a frantic shout. The air grew thick with tension, stifling his breath. "Tom, please. You don't understand. You have to trust me. Just go." Her frantic look bore into him, desperation clawing at the edges of her voice. He hesitated, glancing back toward Jerry's empty office. Everything felt surreal, like moving through a fog. "What did I do?" "No time," Linda urged, pulling him by the arm. "Just run." With pounding hearts, they dashed down the hallway. Tom's mind raced, the uncertainty knotting tighter in his gut. What could possibly have gone wrong? Had he missed something monumental in the weeks leading to this disaster? They rounded a corner, and the sight that met Tom's eyes left him breathless. The conference room door hung ajar, ominously ajar, revealing a swirling chaos. Faces were pale, bodies were tensed, and flailing nerves echoed through the halls. "Who's in there? What is happening?" Linda shook her head as she glanced back. "We don't have time. Just trust me." Then, out of nowhere, a piercing scream sliced through the noise. It wasn't he, just anyone. It was Gwen, another colleague, her voice ringing like a death knell. Tom's heart sank. Gwen. He broke away from Linda, racing toward the now crowded conference room. Panic surged as he pushed through the gathering crowd. Once inside, the sight chilled him to the core. Papers scattered, chairs overturned, and in the center, an envelope lay ominously on the table. Everyone's gaze was locked onto it, eyes wide with horror. What happened? Tom shouted, but the room erupted in chaos, muffled whispers and trembling hands pointing at him. A voice broke through the voice of the HR representative, shaking but resolute. Tom, this envelope, it has your name on it. We're not sure how to tell you this, but this is about your job. Each syllable felt like a punch. Tom's vision blurred around the edges. He reached for the envelope, his fingers trembling. Open it, someone yelled. But just before he could grab it, the power flickered, plunging the room into darkness. Panic erupted, people yelling, shoving past each other. In the chaos, the envelope slid out of reach. Heart racing, Tom groped in the dark, but the panic overtook him. He stumbled backward, feeling trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. And then, just as suddenly as it had gone dark, the lights flickered back on, and the room fell silent. The envelope was gone. Where it had sat just moments before, now only space remained. Then, from somewhere behind him, he heard a heavy, familiar cough. It was Jerry. Tom, he rasped, his voice uneven. We need to talk. He felt the world spin around him. What had just happened? And what could Jerry possibly want now? The tension drew tighter as he turned to face his fate. Jerry stood there, a shadow draped in uncertainty, as Tom's mind fought to process the chaos around them. The office, once a familiar labyrinth of cubicles and coworkers, had morphed into a pressure cooker of anxiety. The flashing lights above buzzed like angry wasps, each flicker a reminder that whatever was at stake was beyond anything he had ever faced. Tom, listen to me carefully, Jerry said, his voice raw and unsteady. You need to understand. He paused, shifting nervously as if the confessions on his lips were too heavy to bear. Understand what? Tom pressed, his heart racing. What just happened? Where's the envelope? The envelope is gone for a reason, Jerry hissed, suddenly anxious. People want to protect something or someone. And you, he hesitated, as if realizing the gravity of what he was about to say. Tom clenched his fists in frustration, his head spinning. Protect from what? The crowd began to murmur again, the whispers slithering through the air like a fog. A woman in the back finally broke her silence, her voice trembling. Tom, they think you did something. What? Tom felt his breath hitch, his world beginning to tilt. Did what? Jerry glanced over his shoulder, eyes darting in paranoia, before he leaned in closer. It's about the company finances. There are accusations that you mismanaged something important, leading to a significant loss. He laughed to hide the tremor in his voice, but it came out as a shaky exhale. I wouldn't. I swear. I've been here for 17 years. Why would I do that? Yet Jerry's expression was unyielding. I know you wouldn't, but there's talk, Tom. They received a tip, and now everyone's looking at you. Some even think you took something. A wave of nausea washed over Tom. The accusations hung heavily in the air, and dread clung to his skin. But I didn't. I swear. He repeated, desperation clawing at his vocal cords. From the corner, Linda stepped closer, her face a mask of concern. You have to find out what really happened. Someone is setting you up. You were racing towards the envelope for a reason, and they saw it. The only sound in the room was the quiet thump of his heart drumming against his ribs. Who's behind this? He muttered, scanning the faces around him, searching for a hint of the traitor hidden among his colleagues. I can't say for sure, but keep your eyes open, Jerry replied, glancing nervously back at the door. You need to leave right now before this goes any further. Tom's throat felt tight as he considered the maze of confusion closing around him. But I can't just run. I need proof. I need to know who's pulling these strings. Suddenly, a sound echoed from down the hall, a loud metallic clang, followed by shouts that sent shivers racing down Tom's spine. The chaos was escalating, and panic surged through the office as whispers grew frantic. Whatever you do, don't get caught, Jerry warned, stepping back as if to shield Tom from the eyes that were now watching him closely. They'll come for you. Before Tom could respond, Linda gripped his arm, her face pale. We have to go? Trust me. With his heart in his throat, Tom turned to sprint down the corridor, the walls closing in as uncertainty twisted his insides like a vice. The light cast eerie shadows as silhouettes darted past, whispers now rising to a fevered pitch. As they raced toward the exit, everything came crashing down on him. The truth was out there, hidden in the depths of this nightmare. But would he unravel the mystery before it shattered him entirely? He felt the weight of eyes upon him, judgment in the air thick enough to choke. Who had betrayed him? And what exactly had he become? Just then, a sharp gasp from behind them made him stop. Linda's grip tightened, her eyes wide with terror. "Tom," she whispered. "Look." At the end of the hallway stood a figure cloaked in darkness, their expression unreadable, watching him with a relentless intensity that dared him to move. His heart raced, fear igniting his senses. Who were they? What did they want? With the shadows closing in and uncertainty consuming him, he knew one thing for certain. He was on the edge of a revelation that could either save him or destroy him. As he faced the figure in the dark, all he could think was, who was really pulling the strings? Tom's breath came in sharp gasps as he stood frozen, the figure at the end of the hallway shifting slightly in the dim light. His heart pounded, the rhythm syncing with the agitation of the crowd behind him. This person, whoever they were, had a purpose, and judging by the tension in the air, it wasn't he going to be a friendly one. "Who are you?" Tom demanded, his voice sounding braver than he felt. The figure remained silent, their face still obscured by shadows, but an electric charge crackled in the air. Linda pulled Tom closer, her nails biting into his arm, and he could feel the urgency radiating from her. "Tom, we need to get out of here," she insisted, panic leaking out of her words. But something compelled him to linger just a moment longer. What if this figure held the key to unraveling the mess tied to him, the accusations, the envelope, everything? "Talk to me," he urged, stepping forward. The shadow shifted again, pulling back slightly. For a fleeting moment, Tom caught a glimpse of pale skin and sharp features before the figure became a sentry once more. Just then, the sounds of office chaos around them grew louder: shouts, a rushing stampede of footsteps, the low hiss of fear blending into the symphony of panic. He could feel the weight of the office's judgment, all eyes trapped on the unfolding scene. Betrayal lived within those eyes, close enough to reach out and grab him. "Tom, please." Linda was almost shouting now, desperation spilling from her voice. "We have to go? Hear me out before we run." Tom shouted back, a mix of frustration and dread in his tone. The figure flinched, and for the briefest flicker, Tom thought he saw recognition flash across their face. "Tom, you're in deeper than you know." The figure finally spoke, their voice muffled yet laced with urgency. "What do you mean?" Tom clenched his fists, desperation making him bold. "What do you know about the envelope?" "About me?" But before they could answer, a loud crash echoed through the hallway, sending the crowd into a frenzy. The figure took a step back, eyes darting as if weighing the risk of remaining in plain view. "Enough of this," they hissed, suddenly shrouded in an air of command. "You're in danger. People want you silenced." "Silenced?" Tom's stomach dropped. "Why?" "Someone wants to bury the truth." The figure's voice dropped to a whisper, the intensity now trained solely on him. "They'll do anything to keep you quiet. Don't trust anyone, especially not Jerry or Linda." His world twisted. Jerry? How had things spiraled this far? Were the people he trusted now allies or enemies? Suddenly, the walls felt like they were closing in. "Wait," Tom shouted, but the figure had already slipped away into the shadows, leaving nothing but the sudden quietness of the hallway thrumming with tension. "Tom, we have to go?" Linda finally pulled him away, but he resisted for a moment longer, eyes scanning the corridor for any sign of the figure. What if they come back? What if there's more I need to know? He was torn between the pursuit of answers and the urgency of escape. But something inside of him flickered with resolve. He couldn't run without digging deeper. As they rushed toward the exit, Tom's mind raced. Who would betray him next? And who truly held the keys to his freedom or his downfall? Just outside, the night air hit him like a visceral shock. But before he could catch his breath, a figure on the sidewalk caught his eye, an unmistakable silhouette looming in the distance. He knew that shape, the cold steel of betrayal now piercing through the fleeting night. Was he already too late to dodge the final blow? And what would happen next? Tom's heart skipped a beat as he recognized the silhouette. It was Jerry, leaning casually against his car, an unsettling calmness surrounding him, like a predator basking in the glow of its unsuspecting prey. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting an eerie light that made Jerry's face unreadable. "What are you doing here?" Tom's voice trembled, fighting the knot of dread coiling in his stomach. Linda apprehensively tugged at Tom's arm, pulling him back. "We need to keep moving," she whispered urgently. But Tom's feet felt mired in place, as if the gravity of the moment was pinning him down. "Tom, come on." She glanced back at Jerry, who watched them with an unsettling smile, the kind that never quite reached his eyes. "I can't just leave him," Tom muttered, the words struggling to escape from his lips. The encounter with the shadowy figure echoed in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was all intricately tied together. "Tom, think about it." "He is not our friend anymore," Linda fired back, her voice shaking with the weight of fear. "You heard what that person said. Someone wants you silenced." Jerry pushed off the car, taking a step toward them. Well, if it isn't my favorite duo," he said, the false cheeriness in his tone making Tom's skin crawl. "What are we up to tonight? Sneaking out before the big reveal?" "What do you mean?" Tom shot back, his voice laden with suspicion. Jerry chuckled, but the laughter felt like a slap in the face. "Relax, buddy. I'm just here to make sure you're not completely blindsided. After all, who wouldn't want a front-row seat to the drama?" "Drama?" Linda echoed, eyes narrowing. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, you'll see," Jerry said, taking another casual step forward, his demeanor transforming as a hard edge entered his voice. "Things are about to get a lot more interesting." Tom clenched his fists, every instinct telling him to fight, to stand firm against this unpredictability. "Let us not make this worse, Jerry. Explain yourself." But Jerry was already laughing again, a sound soaked in menace. "Ah, come on. Just think about it. All those years you put into that company, all those late nights, and this is how it ends? You really think they care about you? You're just a pawn in this game." "What game?" Tom demanded, fueled by a mix of anger and fear. "The game of survival, Tom. You thought you could trust those around you?" Jerry shrugged, feigning nonchalance as he leaned against his car. "Whatever illusion you're holding on to, it's about to shatter." A rush of adrenaline surged through Tom, but before he could react, a figure emerged from the shadows behind Jerry. It was that same figure from the hallway, their sharp features now clearer in the night's light. "Tom," the figure called urgently, eyes darting as they locked onto Jerry. "Get out of here now." The intensity in their voice was palpable, cutting through the confusion like a knife. Jerry swung around, the playful act fading from his face, replaced by a cold fury. "You shouldn't be here," he yelled, the veneer of friendliness vanishing in a blink. "Tom, trust me," the figure urged, pointing towards the street. "You need to listen." Tom's heart raced as he turned, torn between two dangerous choices: stay with Jerry and face the unknown consequences, or follow this mysterious figure who seemed to hold the truth. "Leave, Tom," Linda shouted, her fear bleeding into determination. Now, before he could second-guess himself, the sense of urgency kicked in. "Let us go," Tom shouted, locking eyes with the figure for a fleeting moment that hinted at more than just urgency. There was desperation there, too. Tom grabbed Linda's hand as they dashed down the street, fear surging in adrenaline-fueled strides. Behind them, they could hear Jerry barking orders, growing distant yet carrying an unnerving echo of certainty. "He knows us," Tom gasped, running faster. "What was that about the game?" "We'll figure it out later," Linda replied breathlessly. "Right now, we need to get somewhere safe." As they turned the corner, relief washed over Tom for just a second, but the stillness was shattered by a sudden, sharp honk. Tires screeched and headlights invaded the darkness, pulling closer like a hunting beast on their trail. "What now?" Tom said, panic creeping in again. The figure rushed alongside them, the shadows curling around them. "We can't stop. They'll come for you. They know where you are." Before they could question further, the headlights bore down on them. And just like that, they were thrust into the chaos of the night. What plan could possibly save them now? And who would make the next move? The screech of tires echoed in Tom's ears, blending with the frantic thudding of his heartbeat. His breath came in ragged gasps as they sprinted down the deserted street, the headlights gaining on them like a monstrous beast eager to claim its next victim. "Where do we go?" Tom yelled, a surge of fear pulsing through him. The figure beside him, who was they? A friend? An enemy? Did not respond but glanced back, their expression twisted in determination. Left. In the alley. The figure shouted, jerkily pointing to a narrow passage just ahead. Tom spared only a quick glance, then nodded, instinct taking over. He yanked Linda's hand, pulling her toward the alley's mouth. They ducked inside just as the car thundered past, its engine rumbling like a storm. There was a brief moment of silence, but it felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. "Who are you?" Tom asked, chest heaving as they pressed against the cool, damp brick wall of the alley, desperately seeking some cover, some safety. The figure turned to face him, shadows cloaking their features. "Someone who knows what's really happening," came the steady reply, tinged with a sense of urgency. "You don't realize the danger you're in." "Danger? You don't think I already know that?" Tom snapped, frustration bubbling up in his panic. "We just narrowly escaped, real danger, Tom. Jerry's not just an old friend. He's more involved than you can imagine," the figure interrupted, leaning closer like they didn't want anyone to overhear. "They're planning something big, and you're at the center of it." A jolt of realization hit Tom, as if ice water had been thrown on him. "Something big like what?" "Like silencing you. They want you out, and they'll do anything to ensure that happens. This isn't just a street confrontation. It's part of a larger game," they explained, urgency now replaced with a hint of urgency. Linda shifted, her eyes darting to the entrance of the alley. "We can't stay here. If they're looking for us, then we need to keep moving," Tom said, nodding at the figure. "Lead the way, but we need details. What does Jerry have planned?" The figure hesitated for a moment, their expression clouded. "It's not just Jerry. It's the whole network behind him. They're willing to do whatever it takes to protect their interests: corporate espionage, blackmail, legit ruthless moves. You're a loose end." Thomas' heart pounded. The last straw had snapped, but he felt like he was teetering on the edge of a precipice. "What about the company? What do they get out of taking me down?" "That's just it," the figure insisted, voice rising slightly. "You were about to gather intel that could blow the lid off their operations. They fear what you might uncover. And the moment you left that meeting, they started scrambling to eliminate you." "What do we do?" Linda interjected, her face drawn tight with fear. The figure took a deep breath. "For now, we need to get you to safety and figure out our next move. There's a hideout not far from here." Just as the words left their mouth, a slither of sound crept into the still air. The crunch of footsteps echoed off the walls of the alley. "Do you hear that?" Tom whispered, adrenaline surging back into his veins. They recoiled into the shadows of the alley, adrenaline coursing as fear mounted within them. The footsteps grew louder. Someone was coming into the alley, and judging by the weight of the footsteps, it was no walk-in-the-park scenario. "Get ready," the figure instructed softly. "Just stay calm." But inside, Tom's instincts screamed, fear clawing at his throat. Were they truly safe? As the footsteps drew nearer, a flash of light flickered from the alley's entrance, illuminating the tangled mess of shadows that lined the walls. Would there be a way out? Or would they be trapped, faced with the very people they sought to escape from? The tension hung heavy in the air, and all Tom could do was hold his breath and wait for the tragic climax that seemed imminent. Who was lurking around that corner? And would it mean the end of their frantic flight? The footsteps halted abruptly, a heavy silence enveloping the alley. Tom squeezed Linda's hand tighter, heart racing in sync with his rapidly spiraling thoughts. The flickering light bounced off the wet brick walls, adding to the fear choking him. A shadow emerged at the entrance, the silhouette of a man framed against the night. He scanned the alley with keen eyes, his posture thunderous in the stillness. The chill of fear gripped Tom. This guy radiated danger. "Is it him?" Linda whispered, breath hitching as she shuffled closer to Tom, her eyes wide. "No," the figure beside them replied, voice low and steady despite the tension. "Not him, but someone just as dangerous. We can't stay here." The man at the alley's mouth stepped closer, boots crunching against the scattered gravel. Tom could see the glint of something metallic in his hand, a knife, or maybe a gun. The reflection of the streetlight danced ominously across the blade. "We need an escape route," Tom murmured, searching the dark edges of the alley for any openings. But all he found were walls steeped in shadows, blocking any chance of escape. Before the figure beside them could respond, The man spoke, his voice dripping with menace. "Come on out, little mice. I know you're hiding in there." Tom felt icy fingers race up his spine. The figure urged them back deeper into the shadows, their breath shallow as they weighed their options. Outside the alley, the second man flicked the blade in his hand, an intimidating show of bravado. Tom, the figure's voice shook slightly. "We have to run. Now." Just as they began to inch back, the man at the entrance lunged forward, knife glinting in the dim light. "You think you can hide? Think again. We need to move." The figure turned, scanning the walls frantically. Then they pointed toward a garage door at the far end of the alley, slightly ajar. "There. We can slip through there." Without waiting for a response, they dashed toward the garage, dragging Tom and Linda with them. Behind them, the man gave chase, pounding footsteps echoing like a sinister drum. The sound fired them into action. Adrenaline surged through Tom's veins, lifting him higher, faster. But as they neared the opening, the heavy garage door creaked ominously, a rusty screech mingling with their heartbeats. Tom threw a frantic glance back. The man was closing in, a predator zeroing in on its prey. "Now!" the figure shouted, shoving the door open wider. They slipped inside, and Tom pushed Linda ahead, tucking her safely behind a stack of old crates. He could hear the heavy breathing of their pursuer right outside. "Where's the damn light?" the figure hissed, desperately fumbling for a switch. Tom felt a crushing weight of helplessness. They were trapped one way in, another way out that was a thin slice of air escaping through waves of fear. He could almost see the glinting knife slicing through the shadow, like it knew exactly where they were. Then the figure found the switch. Light flooded the small garage, illuminating dust particles swirling around like specters. The man outside paused, his breathing audible even through the thin metal wall. "What now?" Tom asked, panic clawing at him. They felt exposed, as if the flickering light would betray them to the lurking threat. The figure turned to him, eyes sharp with resolve. "We hide and wait." An uneasy silence followed. Tom could feel Linda's trembling body pressed against his, shared fear binding them together. Outside, the footsteps faltered, revealing hesitant, calculated movements. "What are you waiting for?" The man's voice boomed from outside. "I know you're in there. Come out and face the consequences." Tom's pulse raced, the looming darkness pressing against his chest like a vice. Were they really going to just wait? What did that man want? Suddenly, the overhead door began to rattle as it shifted slightly. Tom's heart plummeted. "Get ready," the figure whispered, a plan forming in their mind. "We'll have to outsmart him." And just as Tom sensed hope flickering amidst the fear, a loud crash erupted from outside, sending them all reeling back. What was happening now? And who or what else lay in wait beyond that door? The crash rattled the garage like thunder, every heartbeat matching the reverberation in Tom's chest. Dust fell from the rafters as the door shuddered violently, making the thin air crackle with tension. Linda's grip tightened on Tom's arm, her wide eyes reflecting the wild flicker of fear mingled with fleeting hope. "Is he coming in?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Tom's stomach nodded. "I don't know." Outside, the man grew impatient. "You think I can't find you? You're in my territory now." His voice was a growl, low and menacing, the blade in his hand a promise of violence. Tom imagined it flashing through the air, aimed straight at them. The instinct to push Linda to safety surged within him, but he was frozen, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Switch off the light," Tom hissed. If they were shadows, perhaps they could remain invisible. The flickering bulb offered little comfort, casting the garage into a strobe-like panic. The figure's hand flew to the switch just as the man outside slammed the door again, this time harder, the metal protesting under the assault. Tom's heart hammered as the light extinguished, plunging them into a thick darkness pierced only by the faintest slivers sneaking through the door's cracks. The sound of breathing his, Linda's, and the figure's echoed in the void, pulsating against the haunting silence. "I can't hear you breathing," the man taunted, his voice cruelly playful. "Let us see if you taste as good as you smell." In that moment, Tom felt the claws of terror dig deeper, squeezing his chest. What if the man pushed through? What if fear turned into reality? Then, the figure made a sudden movement, sliding deeper into the shadows. "Stay close," they whispered hastily, edging away from the door. They moved toward an overhead shelf littered with junk. If he barges in, we'll have to make a run for it. We can't let him corner us. Tom nodded, his thoughts racing. With every heartbeat, the thought of being discovered hung heavier in the air. As if in response to their silent resolve, the door rattled again. But this time there was no voice, no taunts. Just the heavy, heavy silence that followed. Linda's breath turned shallow, her anxiety palpable. Tom could feel it radiating off her in waves. What do we do? She murmured, glancing up at him, her fear palpable under the dim light. Tom hushed her, placing a finger over his lips. They stayed still, every muscle tense, hearts pounding in sync. Minutes ticked by, stretching into a painful eternity. Then, with a quick, jarring thrust, the door burst open, wood splintered as the figure squeezed through, their breathing heavy but determined, eyes scanning the cramped space. There's a back exit, they said urgently, pointing toward a darkened corner concealed by a dusty tarp. Before Tom could react, the figure darted toward it, beckoning them with an anxious wave. Come on. And just like that, time splintered into chaos. The man outside surged forward, his cruel laughter echoing as he invaded their sanctuary. There's nowhere to hide. I'll find you. Tom grabbed Linda's hand, pulling her to the exit, but as they neared the tarp, he heard the footsteps behind them. The madman was close, his darting breaths a countdown to discovery. Just as they reached the exit, a crash echoed behind them. The man was rushing in, knife glinting wildly like a shooting star in the dark. They had to move. Now, the figure shouted, yanking the tarp aside. Tom's heart leapt. Beyond it lay a narrow alley. A glimmer of hope in the chaotic night. They plunged through, but the figure faltered at the last second. Wait, they cried, too late to stop the breathless escape. Without looking back, Tom and Linda took off into the night, adrenaline fueling their flight. But as they hit the street, something felt off. The silence that followed, as unnatural as the echoes of their pursuer, wrapped around them tighter than ever. Where do we go now? Linda panted, wide-eyed and teetering on the edge of panic. A gut-wrenching realization struck Tom. We can't keep running without a plan. But, before he could finish, a screeching tire tore through the air. A dark vehicle careened toward them, headlights blazing bright. What were they running into? And was the nightmare really over? The tires screeched, and Tom's heart dropped as he instinctively yanked Linda away from the approaching vehicle. The world distorted into a blur of headlights and shadows, carving their escape route with piercing light. With each passing second, the air filled with dread, the metallic smell of spent gasoline mixing with the adrenaline flooding his veins. Run, he shouted, dragging Linda deeper into the alley. She stumbled, but he held her tight. There was no time to look back. The looming engine growled like a predator, hungry and relentless. They dashed past trash cans and flickering street lamps, the darkness eating away at their resolve. Tom's mind raced. Who was in that car? Was it the man from the garage? Was it worse? The fingers of fear dug into his spine as he pushed himself to run faster, dragging Linda along. Where are we going? Linda gasped, her face pale beneath the dim glow. Just keep moving. Tom replied, his voice choked. The shadows twisted around them, threatening to swallow them whole. Suddenly, a heavy thud echoed behind them. The sound of boots pounding against concrete echoed as their pursuers spilled into the alley. Laughter mixed with heavy breathing tainted the air. You can't escape me, the man taunted, his words dripping with twisted excitement. It pierced through the chaos, igniting a primal fear within Tom. They rounded a corner, the alley opening up into a deserted street, a wasteland of cracked asphalt and scattered debris. Just then, the headlights of the vehicle flooded into view, illuminating the darkened alley and focusing on the couple like a spotlight on prey. Tom, over there. Linda pointed wildly toward a cluster of old buildings, their windows gaping like open mouths. Beneath the crumbling eaves lay a narrow door, barely visible in the shadows. Come on. Tom bolted toward it, pushing against the door just as he heard the engine roar again, revving up as if to chase them down. They slipped inside as the door creaked, sealing shut with a shudder that echoed through the empty space around them. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust and the smell of neglect. The darkness wrapped around them tightly, making it hard to breathe, to think. Tom leaned against the door, his chest heaving, ears straining for any sound of pursuit. Do you think he saw where we went? Linda whispered, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Tom couldn't tell if her look was fear or hope. I don't know. I just don't know, he admitted, swallowing hard. The ragged breaths weighed heavy on him. His fingers brushed against something cold and metallic in the shadows. What? Linda asked, worry etching her features. Tom turned the object in his hand. It was a flashlight, grimy but functional. He clicked it on, the beam cutting through the blackness and revealing walls plastered with peeling paint and forgotten graffiti. It felt like stepping into a tomb, a long-abandoned reminder of something once vibrant now reduced to shadow. Look, Linda pointed, her voice barely above a whisper like a prayer. At the far end of the room, a staircase spiraled upward into the black. Tom's gut tightened. Should we risk it? What if he catches up? Do we have a choice? She breathed, her voice faltering. Tom felt the walls of uncertainty closing in around them as he moved toward the staircase. The faint sound of a door slamming echoed behind them, snapping through the silence like a firecracker. Tom, hurry! Linda shouted as he felt the floor vibrate beneath them, the unmistakable sound of footsteps drawing nearer. They rushed up the creaking stairs, the noise behind them growing louder, more insistent. Keep going, Tom urged, pushing Linda ahead, desperate to escape the clutches of danger behind them. The panic was palpable, teetering on the edge of dread and a sliver of hope. At the top, they found another door. Tom turned to Linda, a mixture of fear and fierce determination fueling his voice. This has to lead somewhere. If we can just get out. But just as he reached for the handle, a chilling laugh echoed from below. You can't hide forever. The man's voice was a snake, slithering through the narrow space. Tom's grip tightened on the doorknob. Should they go through? And what awaited them if they did? He had to know. Ready? He asked, his heart beating wildly. Linda nodded, fear alighting in her eyes. Together, they would push the door open, stepping into the unknown, with danger lurking just behind them. The door creaked as Tom pushed it open, a fragile whisper against the encroaching chaos. He stepped into the dim light, filtering through cracked windows, illuminating a dusty corridor that twisted further into darkness. Linda followed closely, their breaths intertwined with anticipation and dread. We need to keep moving, Tom whispered, his heart pounding. The laughter echoed behind them, ominous and predatory, urging them onward. They hurried down the corridor, each step sending their hearts racing faster, the adrenaline surging through their veins. The air hung thick with stagnant tension, and each creak of the floorboards felt like a countdown to disaster. Where do you think this leads? Linda whispered, fear cracking her voice. Somewhere safe, I hope, Tom replied, though his gut twisted with uncertainty. But as they rounded a corner, they stumbled into a larger room, the old office, dim and decrepit with scattered papers and overturned desks. A strange calm filled the air, but Tom knew better. Over there. Linda pointed toward the far wall where large double doors stood partially ajar, leading out toward the dim glow of streetlights. Just as they set off toward the exit, heavy footsteps echoed from behind, jarring the fragile sense of security they had clung to. You can't escape. The voice taunted, resonating with dark intent, mingled with a hint of laughter. Run, Tom shouted as he shoved Linda through the doors, his heart hammering as he followed closely behind. They burst into the night, the chill air slapping against their skin, filling their lungs with a desperate pulse of life. Where do we go? Linda gasped, eyes darting around desperately searching for hope. Somewhere we can find help. We need to expose what's happening, Tom replied, his jaw clenched tight. The weight of their danger loomed heavily, and they couldn't afford to let the fear consume them. They bolted towards the street, the distant sounds of the city barely breaking the thick tension that clung to them like a shroud. Tom's mind raced with thought, who could possibly help? Who would believe their story? Then, as if the universe read his thoughts, a flicker of blue and red lights painted the dark street. A patrol car slowed just ahead, the officer holding a curious gaze, face wrinkled in concern. Hey, stop, he called out, hands raised. Relief flooded through Tom, battling the fear that had taken root deep in his chest. Officer, Tom shouted, waving his hands frantically, the last vestiges of hope igniting within him. Please, we need help. The officer stepped out of the car, brow furrowing as he took in their disheveled state. What is going on? Someone is after us. There are people in the office. It's not safe. Tom called out, urgency bursting forth. Get in, the officer replied, voice steady and resolute. We'll get to the bottom of this. As they slipped into the cool back seat of the patrol car, Linda whispered a tremulous thank you. Tom stared at the officer. Then he swallowed hard, memories of the chaos flooding his mind. They're trying to pin something on me. Finances. It's all a setup. I need you both to calm down and tell me everything. The officer replied, reaching for his radio as he started the engine. Just then, through the rearview mirror, Tom caught a flash of headlights barreling towards them. Panic surged again. Watch out! He screamed, scrambling in his seat. The officer swerved just in time, tires screeching as another vehicle skewed past, its windshield glowing with an unnatural light, engine roaring in relentless pursuit. Who are they? Tom yelled, heart racing, desperation clawing at his throat. They're the ones who tried to silence you. The officer shouted, fingers gripping the wheel tightly. As chaos reigned around them, a sudden idea struck Tom like lightning. Their essay document. A hidden file in the office that can prove everything. You have to go back. The officer glared at him, uncertainty lining his features. It's too dangerous. Tom looked at Linda, her eyes wide with fear, and then back to the officer. We can't let them win. They're trying to bury the truth. We can't let that happen. For a heartbeat, silence fell. Then the officer nodded, determination crystallizing. All right, but we do this carefully. As the patrol car turned back toward the office, adrenaline surged. A chance to fight back, a chance to expose the truth. It felt like the last flicker of hope in a long, dark tunnel. When they arrived, the office loomed ominously, the lights flickering above like a warning. Was it safe? The chaos inside clamored, mixing with their mounting fears. Stay close, and don't panic, the officer instructed, stepping out with purpose. With careful steps, they approached the door, Tom's heart pounding wild in his chest. This would be their moment of truth. Inside, the office was eerily quiet. The chaos had shifted to whispers, the tension palpable. Where's the document? The officer hissed, scanning the walls. Conference room. Tom gestured, recalling the dreaded envelope. It should be there. They moved together, the sound of their footsteps echoing eerily. In an instant, the room was visible, the door ajar, murmurs spilling from within, hands moving anxiously over documents. The officer pushed the door open, revealing a tableau of concerned co-workers gathered around, looks of shock flooding their faces as they recognized Tom. What are you doing here? Jerry sipped his coffee, masking the fear with a smile, but Tom saw the panic in his eyes. Enough games. The officer barked, eyes steady. Stand down. This man isn't the criminal. You are. Tom's heart raced, a surge of adrenaline flooding his senses. It was time to reveal the truth, confront the web of lies. I need you to listen, Tom began, stepping forward, his voice echoing through the stunned silence. I didn't mismanage anything. Someone set me up, and I have proof. The room erupted into chaos, voices fired back in disbelief, accusations sliced through the air, but Tom stood firm. You think I'd be here if I was guilty? It was a wave of anger boiled over, the crowd's tension rising until someone shouted back, You're lying. No, Linda cried. We were chased, almost killed. You have to believe us. In that moment, the truth rippled through the air like a spark, igniting the unity of shared experiences. More murmuring erupted, but it was different. The seeds of trust had been planted. Show them, the officer insisted, pushing Tom forward. Then we need to find the envelope, he cried, realizing where they had stashed it. As they began to comb through the office, hearts racing, a resolve simmered in the air. They could expose the truth, reclaim what was lost. The past would haunt them, but maybe, just maybe, they could carve out a path for the future. Tom's heart settled slightly. The fight wasn't over, but it had just taken a turn. The power of hope surged within him, fueling their quest for justice. Linda's hand brushed against his, an anchor amidst the chaos. We'll get through this, she whispered, fighting back her own uncertainty. I promise, Tom murmured, determination firming in his bones. They pressed forward, deeper into the realm of the investigation. They knew one thing for sure. Together, they were unstoppable. This was just the beginning. And as they stepped fully into the fray, the air crackled with everything they fought for: the truth, justice, and the hope that there just might be a way out of the nightmare after all. But as the truth unfurled, shadows lingered. The war was far from over, but now they were armed with knowledge, solidarity, and an unwavering belief in the fight that lay ahead. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are just around the corner. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm for more intense tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing conclusion, because we want to hear from you. And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this gripping finale. Your support means the world.